From claims of healings and visions to the world's most inexplicable events, whether you're a believer or a skeptic, the truth is always worth the hunt.
EWTN Radio presents The Miracle Hunter with Michael O'Neill.
Welcome to the Miracle Hunter radio show on EWTN Radio. This is Michael O'Neill. I'm the Miracle Hunter. People who tune into this show know that I love looking at the saints of old and new. There are so many new exciting causes happening for saints in the United States and around the world, and yet there are other saints, 10,000 as the approximate answer that we're told, of saints throughout Christian history. And one of those very early saints, who perhaps didn't go through the canonization process in the same way, was Moses the Black. And there's a brand new film that's out that looks at the life of Moses the Black from a very modern lens. In fact, it's cast in Chicago, the new retelling of Moses the Black, and the producer of that film, Yelena Popovic, the producer, director, and writer of Moses the Black, joins us on today's program in just a little bit. And we'll be excited to talk as well with Father Nathanael Mudd. He's the chaplain of the National Shrine of Our Lady of Good Help. And you may have heard this on last week's show, that there is big news coming out of that shrine, which is that the canonization cause for the visionary, that's Adele Brice, her cause is now been officially green-lit, meaning it's got the approval from Rome and the approval from the U.S. Bishops' Conference and all approvals otherwise, and it is marching forward. And so she is a servant of God. We'll be excited to talk with Father Nathanael later about how that new cause is getting underway. And later in the show, we'll be talking about They Might Be Saints. And for people who want to tune into my series, They Might Be Saints, you can tune in on Tuesday, January 20th, about an episode about Rhoda Wise. We go to Canton, Ohio, where Rhoda Wise was well known as a mystic and had many spiritual gifts and healing miracles. One of them was experienced by Rita Rizzo, the future Mother Angelica. I relate her remarkable story in that episode, so you can check that one out on Tuesday, January 20th. My other series with EWTN, Explore with the Miracle Hunter, the next episode airs on Saturday, January 31st at 5:30 p.m. Central Time. San Giovanni Rotondo in Italy, the home, of course, to Padre Pio, the great miracle-working saint. I look at him when we journey to Italy to meet the man known worldwide for healing miracles by location, and perhaps most famously exhibiting the wounds of Christ in the Stigmata, and that is Saturday, January 31st at 5:30 p.m. Central Time. Explore with the Miracle Hunter, San Giovanni Rotondo. Later in the show, we're going to be looking at the Might Be Saint of the Day, like we always do. For today, we have Blessed Theresia Olivelli, who lived in Italy from January 7th to born January 7th, 1916, to January 12th, in 1945. He died as a martyr. The 365 Days with Mary Project looks at the Marian devotion of the day. Today is a big one for January 17th. It is Our Lady of Prayer from Pont-Main in France in the year 1871. And the question of the week might be a common one. I think I had a miraculous healing. Are these still reported, and where do I go? I'll try to answer that one in just a little bit. And the miracle of the day happened in Absam in Austria on January 17th, 1797. I'll tell you more about that one in just a little bit. Let's take a look at the miracle news. We do this every week where we look at the miracles happening around the world and those things that relate to miracles. And there was a miracle that it's one of these that was reported. Perhaps it's not a miracle, but it still made the news anyway. So the headline was that Vegas churchgoers report a religious miracle appearing during Mass. And so the story says that parishioners at St. Thomas More Catholic Church in Las Vegas said they experienced what they believe was a miracle during a holiday Mass celebrated on the Feast of Our Lady of Guadalupe. And the reported sighting occurred during the special service when several people in attendance noticed what they described as a face appearing in the wrinkles of a piece of fabric displayed in the sanctuary. And Father Edmund Nandozzi said he did not initially see the image from his position at the front of the church, while parishioners began taking out their phones and recording it. However, after looking more closely, he said he could see what the others were describing. The quote is, I looked at it and I said, oh, wait a minute. And I looked at it again, and that was the face of, it's Our Lady, Nosey said when he told Fox 5 Las Vegas about the footage. And so, of course, there are various things throughout the world and throughout the United States that people see, and even in groups they see things. But these types of claimed miracles, these images, either in tortilla bread or in fabric or in the clouds or in trees, these aren't the type of things that the Catholic Church generally investigates in any formal way. But perhaps this was a momentary inspiration for those people attending Mass at St. Thomas More in Las Vegas. But that's today's miracle news of the day. Let's take a look at Catholic Pub Trivia. We do this every week where we ask a trivia question and give out a prize to an emailer who writes in the fastest with the correct answer. And last week we had the question, in what century was Moses the Black canonized? And Moses the Black, who is known as Moses the Ethiopian or Moses the Strong, was never canonized in a formal sense, and that's because he lived in the 4th century through the early 5th century, long before the Catholic Church developed a formal canonization process, which began in the Middle Ages. So he became a saint in the early church when saints were recognized by local Christian communities and monastic tradition and popular veneration rather than by any official Vatican process. And he was revered as a saint soon after his martyrdom around the year 405, especially amongst the Desert Fathers in Egypt. In his holiness, his focus on repentance, his death as a martyr, it led to widespread recognition. And his feast day is celebrated in the Coptic Orthodox Church on August 28th and the Eastern Orthodox Church in September 4th. And so, although he's recognized as a saint in the early 5th century by popular and monastic veneration, not through a formal canonization process. And so the question for this week, today, is the feast day of Our Lady of Pont Maine, which was a silent apparition of the Virgin Mary. The question is, name another silent church-approved Marian apparition. If you think you know that answer and want to win the prize, The Face of Mary, send me an email. We're looking for both it being silent and church-approved. There's not many of them, but if you think you know that answer, send me an email to questions@miraclehunter.com, and maybe you'll have the right answer, and answers and winners will be posted on the show page on miraclehunter.com. We need to take a short break, but when we come back, we're going to be talking with Yelena Popovic, the producer, director, and writer of the brand new film Moses the Black. Stay with us for that.
Now, back to the Miracle Hunter on EWTN. Here's Michael O'Neill.
Welcome back. You're listening to the Miracle Hunter radio show on EWTN Radio. This is Michael O'Neill. I'm the Miracle Hunter. Well, people who tune into this show know that I love talking about saints. And one of the things that people get tripped up on, I think, is when they think about saints written in dusty old books from centuries ago, painted with halos and everything else, and perhaps they have no connection to the modern-day world. Well, there's a brand new film that's out. It's called Moses the Black, and it's starring Omar Epps. And it follows Chicago gang leader Malik, who was recently released from prison as he returns to his old neighborhood, seeking revenge and control in a world of rival crews and corruption. And when his grandmother gives him an icon of St. Moses the Black, the saint's story begins to haunt and challenge Malik's worldview. And he's caught between escalating violence and growing internal struggle. He must confront his past and the spiritual transformation it demands. And this is a modern crime drama that's inspired by this historical saint's story of repentance and redemption. And it's in theaters nationwide on January 30th. So that's coming right up. And currently the film has no rating. But I encourage people who are interested in showing children this film. This is not suitable for young audiences, but this is a modern tale of redemption on the streets. And we're so excited today to be joined by Yelena Popovic, who's the producer, director, and writer of this brand new film called Moses the Black. Welcome to the program today, Yelena.
Thank you for having me.
Well, we're so excited to talk to you about this film. I think this is an exciting one. And as I was alluding to, the story of saints can be old, but this is a new way to look at Moses the Black. And so, why do you think this journey of this ancient saint, as we can say, is relevant for audiences even today?
Well, as you said yourself, Saint Moses is the saint of redemption. I personally, the same way as I did with my previous film, Man of God, I tend to like to write films that I believe will inspire people, give people hope, and especially those that suffer the most, those that feel lost, that feel that there is no way out. And I think that the story of Saint Moses the Black, who was a real person who lived in the 4th century. He died, he was martyred in the year 405 AD. Really, it can become a role model for a lot of people to know that there is no such thing as not being able to be forgiven, and that everybody has a chance to get out and have a meaningful life, and life that it's of service and pleasing to the Lord. And so I think this is an important thing, especially nowadays. Obviously, people that are a part of the church, like myself, like I believe your audience, we maybe understand that, and we're part of that. But there are a lot of people out there that feel very lost, and they don't quite know what's missing, because everything has been diluted lately. Everything seems to be like nothing matters, nothing is okay, and that's why we have a lot of problems, especially with our youth and with the new generations, that I feel they have beautiful souls, and I think it will really speak to young people and people that to understand that there is such a thing as the light of God, and that our lives are very meaningful, and that we can experience beautiful things even while here on earth.
We're talking today with Yelena Popovic, the producer, director, and writer of the brand new film Moses the Black, starring Omar Epps. And as Catholics, we may learn of, there are so many saints, maybe 10,000 saints throughout history. We might learn of them in school or from our parents, or we pick up a book. Do you have an idea of where you first heard of Moses the Black? I know that Martin Scorsese is interested in this saint as well. What is it that first caught your attention about Moses the Black?
Well, I read about him right before I filmed Man of God. And I was amazed by the way he became a martyr, by the way he died. You see, he was somebody who was a very violent gang leader in the land of Egypt in the 4th century. And it was kind of brutal and violent. And one day, he was basically chased for killing a government official. At this point, there was a bounty on his head, and he decided to hide somewhere where he thought nobody would ever look for him, which was a monastery in the desert, where a famous saint, Abba Isidore, was an abbot at the time. And but something happened that night or that day when he was there, that God spoke to his heart in a mysterious way, and he had a sudden change of heart, and he literally asked the monks if they could receive him at the monastery, not to hide him from the authorities and save him from the physical death, but to help him save his soul. And I was quite amazed that this man, with this kind of past, he just basically went all the way on the other side and became a great ascetic. And he became a priest later on, maybe 20, 30 years later, and then he became the abbot of the same monastery at the age of 75. And this is what really, really got to me, was how he died, that he basically was, talking to his disciples. Now he had about 70 disciples. This is the man who, when he was much younger, had about 70 gang members. Now, not every one of them, but I'm sure some of them were his ex-gang members. He had 70 disciples at the monastery. And he told everybody to run away, that the robbers will enter the monastery any second now, and everybody's going to be martyred and killed. And when he was asked, well, what about him? He said that he was praying and waiting for that moment his whole life. And these were his words. He said, I I wanted to glorify my Lord and my Savior, Jesus Christ, and his words, who takes the sword must die by the sword. But you don't have to go through this with me. And about 7 brave, everybody ran away. About 7 brave monks stayed with him. And one of them, probably through the providence of God, couldn't quite go through with it. So he hid somewhere in the last moment before the murderers came in. And he witnessed the martyrdom of St. Moses the Black and 6 other martyrs. And not only that, when he came out of hiding and when the robbers were gone, he saw our Lord giving the crown of glory to each one of their souls. And I was just shaken by that. I felt, wow, if you talk about a real repentance, this is something that it's very deep and meaningful. And this is what I think this is the point where I felt like that I wanted to try to write a film about him and tell his story.
Absolutely. We're talking today with Yelena Popovic, the producer, writer, director of Moses the Black, a new film starring Omar Epps, in theaters starting January 30th. And as the writer, director, and producer, how did you manage to balance historical authenticity with creative storytelling, bringing Moses the Black to the screen?
No, thank you. That's a very good question. Actually, I was originally writing a story of St. Moses in the 4th century, and I was going through different treatments. And I felt like I had what we would call a writer's block, or I just felt that the story that I was trying to tell wasn't going to do the justice to St. Moses. You know, sometimes you have wonderful moments in the lives of the saints, but just it doesn't mean that if you put all these moments together that it will make it for a good movie. And I write myself, and I'm a director, so I was aware of what was on that paper. And then because of that, I was thinking, well, I have this inspiration to do the film about him, and I prayed to him a lot. And I was inspired at one point. It came to me. It was actually at this monastery in Greece that I was at when one of the abbots asked me to sit and pray about things that it came to me that I should tell a story in a modern day. This should be a story of repentance in the modern day, and I saw the whole connection between this current day gangster in Chicago and him meeting St. Moses and basically bringing St. Moses in our current day, so that way people could relate to the story, and that way I believe that St. Moses could do his work that way in much more meaningful way than just watching it from the outside. And we can watch it from inside out. We can experience to what his man is going through and how St. Moses impact his life. And that way I felt it was a better way of telling that story, and it would do more of a justice to St. Moses the Black.
Absolutely. And you bring up a good point. Of course, Moses the Black is known for this dramatic transformation from outlaw to saint, but you have to portray the inner change on the film for people to understand. How did you do that?
Well, how did I do that? I guess some people will have to judge me. They will have to see the movie. I wrote the script, and that was a very delicate matter. And I think through the transformation of the main character, because everything happens to in his head, and we really follow this character, you feel what the character feels. And therefore, you can also feel the transformation of St. Moses the Black in the movie. And some people have seen the film, and they agree very much so that that part is done very well. That redemption and the spirit of redemption is there. So I'm actually very pleased with it.
And did you have a favorite part in the production or in the film as it turned out that that reinforced for you why the story works the way it does?
You know, what I did, I think this is what helped a lot. When I realized that I had to tell a story of a gangster in the modern day Chicago, I realized that I had to go and speak to people in the inner city of Chicago. Mm-hmm. and do a lot of research, because the truth is what's the most important. And I always feel that the only one who can obviously bless the project is the Lord himself. And I feel that he responds the best to the honest heart and humility and the truth. So therefore, I felt that if I told a very honest story, that people from the inner city of Chicago would feel it's truthful and it could help their city, which is something that I did. I went and met with them, and they helped me with the story. I felt that the story of St. Moses will then come through. So I think the most, to me, and even using in some of the scenes, even though there are some really famous people in it and great actors, I also use some real people from the city. And they have also brought this layer of honesty and authenticity to the story, which I feel was, for me, that's what I found it very interesting. And also the gentleman who played St. Moses the Black, his name is Chakwudi Wuji. He's Nigerian. He lived in Ethiopia for about 7 years, and he has done an incredible job. I think working with him was like with everybody else, but this was quite interesting I don't want to give it away now, but there was something very specific that we did. We really focused on the repentance part, and I think that was something that I felt there was some special blessing upon it.
Beautiful.
that it was, yes, I've done the work, but I feel I've been, I've got help from above on that one.
That's always great when that happens. We're talking today with Yelena Popovic, the producer, director, and writer of Moses the Black, a brand new film with Omar Epps, out in theaters on January 30th. And I personally am excited about this film. I'm a Chicago guy myself, so this is my city on the big screen again. And as we wrap up the interview today, what is your great hope that viewers will take away from this modern telling of Moses the Black when we talk about faith, redemption, personal transformation? What's your hope for people who check out this film?
Well, I hope for people to, even if they're not living in that world, to identify themselves with struggle, because we all struggle in life. And I hope that the movie will give them hope and encouragement to move in the right direction. I hope it will basically help them get out or make the right move in the right direction, to help them get out whatever people. We all need something. Like me, myself personally, when I wrote the script, I thought for me it was about getting out of difficult situations. And I hope that whoever people they're stuck, that they know that the Lord is there for them. And for those that sometimes don't believe, maybe they feel they cannot move forward, or there's no forgiveness for them, to know that God is love and that no soul is beyond redemption. And I think that that's something I hope that people can get away from this film.
Very well put. We've been joined today by Yelena Popovic, the producer, director, and writer of Moses the Black, the brand new film with Omar Epps that's out in theaters on January 30th. People can go to Fandango or any of their local theater websites or otherwise to purchase those tickets, and tickets are available now for purchase as well. We thank you so much, Yelena Popovic, for joining us on today's program.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
God bless. That was Yelena Popovic, producer, director, and writer of Moses the Black. Check that one out in theaters nationwide on January 30th. And again, this film is not yet rated, not meant for a younger audience. There is some violence in there, but this is a great film of transformation that is framed around the life of Moses the Black. I'm excited for people to check this one out. We need to take a short break, but when we come back, we're going to be looking at the question of the week. Stay with us for that.
Now, back to the Miracle Hunter on EWTN. Here's Michael O'Neill.
Welcome back. You're listening to the Miracle Hunter radio show on EWTN Radio. This is Michael O'Neill. I'm the Miracle Hunter. Hey, I love getting your questions. People write in from around the world with miracles happening in today's world and those that have happened centuries ago. And I love hearing what people are thinking about. I've got a pretty interesting and lively email inbox. I get a lot of questions, but I also love answering questions in person. If I'm giving a talk, maybe I travel around the country 10 or 20 times to different Catholic parishes or conferences or other occasions where I give a talk about miracles. And I'm always talking about either Eucharistic miracles these days or Marian apparitions or how the Church investigates the supernatural or about how saints are made. Those are the common things I talk about, but I usually talk for about 45 minutes, and then at the end I open it up to questions. And sometimes it goes quite a while because people have lots of questions about miracles, and I do my best to answer them. For people who want to have me out to their parish to speak at their event, you can send me an email. Go to my website, miraclehunter.com, click on the Contact tab, and you can send me a message that way, and maybe I'll be speaking at a parish somewhere near you sometime soon. So we got a good question this week. The question was, Dear Miracle Hunter, I think I had a miraculous healing. Are those still reported, and where? Thank you, Glinda. Well, thanks, Glinda, for your question, and it's a good one. I think there are still miraculous healings that happen all around the world, and we want to know the Church has this very stringent investigative process. Does the Church investigate a miracle that happens to everyday people? And I think there's some sort of a concept or an idea that people who have a miracle, maybe they report it to their parish priest, and he picks up his red phone, and he calls the bishop, and the bishop picks up his red phone, and then he contacts the Pope, and then the Pope sends out a crew of miracle hunters who come out and investigate and send it back to the Vatican for investigation and examination. Well, it's maybe there are some movies who portray it that way, but it's not exactly how it works. Turns out that miracles are only investigated in pretty much two places. One place being at Lourdes, where the miracles related to the visions of St. Bernadette Soubirous in 1858 relate to those miracles of people dipping in the water and coming out healed. There have been 72 cases where people who have done that and have had a healing, and there's a very extensive investigative process by the Lourdes Medical Commission who does that using the criteria of the Vatican. And then the Vatican also, in the Congregation for the Causes of Saints, the Dicastery for the Causes of Saints now, they have a formal process where they use that Lambertini criteria, but they're only looking for miracles that it might push someone towards sainthood, advancing from servant of God to venerable to blessed and then to saint. And so those are the two places where miracles are investigated formally by the Church. And of course, the Dicastery for the cause or for the doctrine of the faith has investigated throughout the centuries things like Marian apparitions and stigmata and weeping statues and things like that. These days, however, as of 2024, they don't investigate them in the same sort of way, or they at least don't approve them as supernatural. So the main place that miracles are investigated are in the Dicastery for the Cause of Saints. So, Glinda, if your miracle relates to a future saint, not one that's been canonized already, they've done all their investigation already, but if they have a future saint miracle, please send me more details, because maybe your miracle will lead to the canonization of a saint in the future. If you have a question for the Miracle Hunter, you can send me an email to questions@miraclehunter.com, and maybe I'll be reading your question on the air next week. Let's take a look at the 365 Days with Mary project. We do this every week where we look at the Marian devotion of the day as it lines up exactly to the day's date. We all know Fatima, May 13th, or Lourdes, February 11th, or Guadalupe, December 12th, but believe it or not, there's a different Marian devotion that lines up to each and every day of the calendar year from somewhere around the world. And we're talking about feast days, the building of basilicas, a great miracle that's happened, other ways that Mary is honored and commemorated for each day around the year. So today's date is a big one. It's Our Lady of Prayer from Pont-Maine in France in the year 1871. And the story goes that during the devastation of the Franco-Prussian War, Mary appeared on a farm to students at the nearby convent school. And Mary's message was written on a banner that unfurled from her feet. But pray, my children, God will hear you in a short time. My son allows himself to be moved by compassion. And Our Lady wore a blue robe embroidered with golden stars. On her head she had a black veil and gold crown, and on her feet blue shoes with gold ribbons. And the apparition was motionless at first for the initial 2 hours, and after the rosary began, a red cross appeared over her heart, and a blue oval frame with 4 candles appeared around her, while the stars in her robe seemed to increase. And the Bishop of Laval approved the apparition as supernatural in the year 1872. And that's today's 365 Days with Mary Project Devotion of the Day. And for people who want to find out more, you can actually go to explorewiththemiraclehunter.com and click on the On Demand tab. And if you go there, you can see the episode that we filmed about the apparitions at Pont Maine. It was an absolutely beautiful Gothic cathedral and shrine there, and an incredible story. I encourage people to check that one out. Let's take a look at the miracle of the day. We do this every week as well, where we look at a miracle that's happened on the day's date exactly on some year in Christian history. So for today, on January 17th, in the year 1797, and on a snowy day, 18-year-old Rosina Bucher was quietly sewing at the family dinner table when she felt a sudden terror. Her father, who was at work in the salt mines, came immediately to her mind, and she feared that he had been in a terrible accident. And she was drawn to look out the window and was surprised to see an amazing sight. An image of a beautiful young woman had formed on the glass on the window next to her, and she called to her mother, who saw it too, and they both assumed it was the Blessed Virgin Mary. And the pious priest was later summoned, and they told the neighbors, and people all seemed to agree that the image was a portrait of the Virgin Mary. And despite her mother's worry, Rosina thought that it was a sign that her father and brother would come home safely, despite her premonition. And they did arrive safely, and amazingly, they gave the report that had just survived a salt mine accident. And the parish priest had the window pane removed and examined by experts who discovered that the image disappeared when submerged in water, but reappeared when dry. And the glass was scrubbed, and the image disappeared and then reappeared. Even attempts to sand it off or remove it permanently with acid failed. And the origin of the image was declared undetermined, and both the priest and the bishop declared the image to be miraculous. And the window was returned to the Bucher family, but at the request of the villagers, they donated to St. Michael's Church for veneration, and news quickly spread, and pilgrims began to flock to Absam to pray before this image. Maybe someday that will be an Explore with the Miracle Hunter episode, but that's today's Miracle of the Day on January 17th, 1797, the miraculous image of the window in Absam in Austria. Let's take a look at the sainthood news. We do this every week as well, where we talk about people on the path to sainthood. And this lines up to my program, They Might Be Saints, which airs on EWTN weekly. And there's a sainthood effort that's begun for the nun who has chosen to bring the gospel to people behind bars. In Tijuana, in Mexico, OSV News is reporting that 12 years after her death, the religious community founded by Mother Antonia Brenner is now working with the Center for Sainthood Studies to prepare her cause. Brenner was a twice-divorced mother of 7 from Southern California, and she lived as a nun to the age of 50 and then moved to a cell inside Tijuana's notorious La Mesa Penitentiary, where she ministered for more than 3 decades. And the Youth Servants of the 11th Hour is the community she founded for older women. And today there are 11 sisters ages 56 to 85 who continue her mission, delivering essentials and spiritual support to prisoners who say the visit feels like an embrace from God. And the canonization effort awaits action from Tijuana's next archbishop. And that is the sainthood news for today. Let's take a look at the Might Be Saint of the Day. We try to do this every week, where we look at those people on the path to sainthood. We're talking about servants of God's venerable blesseds before they have all their miracles as recognized in Rome as saints. And so the Might Be Saint of the Day is somebody who's got a feast day or death anniversary that lines up exactly to the day's date. And so for today's date, January 17th, we've got Blessed Tereseo Olivelli, who lived from 1916 to 1945 in Italy. And the story is that he was the son of Domenico Olivelli and Celia Ivernizzi, and Teresio grew up in a very religious family, and his maternal uncle, Father Rocco Ivernizzi, was the boy's spiritual teacher and director. And his family moved to Pavia in 1926, and he studied at Gilslari College, and then in 1934, law school at the University of Pavia, and he graduated there with honors in 1938. And he was a member of Catholic Action and a fascist student group. He was a professor of administrative law at the University of Turin, and he began a personal ministry of caring for the poor and the orphaned, and he wrote a number of articles on law, social conditions, current events, and he won an oratory competition in Trieste in Italy there and the thesis of human dignity for all people, regardless of race. And he volunteered to fight in the Spanish Civil War in 1936. He studied in Berlin from 39 to 41, spoke fluent German, and he volunteered to fight on the Russian front in 1941, but was injured by frostbite. And his experiences in war turned him against fascism, and he refused to swear allegiance to the Italian Social Republic government in 1943. And for this, he was deported to Innsbruck, Austria on September 9, 1943, but managed to return to Milan in October of 1943. And he founded an underground newspaper that promoted Christianity and Christian alternatives to fascism. And due to acts like the deportation of the Jews, Terresio gave up all thoughts of reconciliation with fascism, and he began fighting in the Italian resistance. And he was arrested in April of 1944 in Milan, and he was imprisoned in a series of prisons and routinely tortured by the Nazis. And he was known for sharing his meager rations with other prisoners and treating their injuries. At one point, he was imprisoned and befriended Blessed Eduardo Vocerini, and he was beaten to death for trying to defend a Ukrainian prisoner. He was posthumously awarded the Medal of Military Valor. He died on January 12, 1945, in Germany, and cremated there in that camp. And his ashes were dumped in a common grave. He was declared venerable by Pope Francis in 2015. And then on June 16th, 2017, Pope Francis, in a decree of martyrdom, made him a blessed. And so with one miracle of Blessed Terresio Olivelli will go on to be Saint Terresio Olivelli. And he's today's Might Be Saint of the Day. For people who are interested in my project, They Might Be Saints, you can pick up the book, They Might Be Saints, which is available from EWTNRC.com, the EWTN Religious Catalog. I think it's my best book, where people can tune into the weekly series. This week, on Tuesday, January 20th, the episode on Rhoda Wise airs. In Canton, Ohio, Rhoda Wise was well known as a mystic with many spiritual gifts and healing miracles. One of them was experienced by Rita Rizzo, the future Mother Angelica. I relate her remarkable story in this episode of They Might Be Saints. Check it out on Tuesday, January 20th. We need to take a short break, but when we come back, we're going to be talking with Father Nathanael Mudd from the National Shrine of Our Lady of Champion about the opening of the canonization cause for Adele Brice, the visionary in Champion. Stay with us for that.
Now, back to the Miracle Hunter on EWTN. Here's Michael O'Neill.
Welcome back. You're listening to the Miracle Hunter radio show on EWTN Radio. This is Michael O'Neill. I'm the Miracle Hunter. Well, people who tune into this show know that I love looking at future American saints and have the series They Might Be Saints on EWTN. And I also love looking at Marian apparitions. And there's only one case in the United States, and that is, of course, in Champion, Wisconsin. Those apparitions received by the visionary Sister Adele Brice and recognized by Bishop David L. Ricken in 2010. And this is a very interesting confluence because we have the Marian apparition site and we have the site of the future saint, and that's Sister Adele Brice. And throughout Christian history, there have been numerous others who have been visionaries who have been canonized. I'm thinking of the Fatima children, or St. Bernadette Soubirous at Lourdes, or St. Catherine Labouré, and there are others. But this is something that's happened where through the light that shined on a visionary, their life of heroic virtue becomes visible to the world and to the church. And we're so excited because Sister Adele Brice's canonization cause is moving forward. Of course, it was proposed by the shrine and then proposed by the bishop, and then the bishops' conference, the USCCB, gave its thumbs up, and Rome has given its thumbs up. So it's all systems go. We have the green light, and Bishop David L. Ricken of Green Bay recently issued an edict regarding Adele Brice, the visionary for Our Lady of Champion. Well, we're so honored today to be joined by the chaplain of the National Shrine of Our Lady of Good Help, and that's Father Nathanael Mudd, to talk to us about what's next in this canonization cause. Welcome to the show today, Father Nathan.
Thank you. It's good to be here, Michael.
It's great to have you on, and this is exciting news, I'm sure, for the shrine itself there, and for American Catholics to have another person being considered for sainthood. It's a very rare thing to have an American saint. So now that we have an American Pope, maybe this cause will move forward swiftly. But I'm sure that there's some excitement at the shrine about this right now.
Yeah, we're very excited. Having Adele's cause being looked into now has certainly gotten a lot of interest from people, and we've received a lot of interest over the years in her already. But with this new, with this beginning new here, with this inquiry into her life, we've gotten a lot of local interest as well, new local interest as well.
And for American Catholics, you would think that everybody would know about Our Lady of Champion, the National Shrine, about Adele Brice, the visionary, but not everybody does, even though this is the single case of a Marian apparition recognized by the local bishop. So who was Adele Brice, and what did Our Lady of Champion say to her?
So Adele Brice is a Belgian immigrant who came here in the early 1800s, and when she got here with her family, she moved up here to northeastern Wisconsin. And here, as she carried out supporting the family, working on the farm with them, it was in 1859 that Mary appeared to her between two trees as she was carrying wheat back and forth from a grist mill to have it made into flour. And it was the third time that Mary appeared to her that she actually spoke to her and gave her a message to pray for the conversion of sinners, to do penance for sin, and to teach the children of this rough country their catechism. And then finally, Mary ended with, "I am the Queen of Heaven, and I will help you. Go and teach nothing. Go and fear nothing." And that's what Adele proceeded to do for the rest of her life, is in the northeastern Wisconsin, teach children their catechism, visit families. She eventually founded a school, which is still present here on the grounds after having survived the Great Peshtigo Fire in 1871. This is one of the evidences, we think, for Mary appearing here, is that the grounds here were miraculously preserved, despite everything else having burned to a crisp around it.
Yeah, it's truly an amazing story, the story of Adele Brice and Our Lady of Champion, and it's a story that's unique in the United States. And so when we think about Adele, of course, the big resume item, of course, is seeing Mary, and as I mentioned before, that there are other Marian visionaries who are canonized, but that doesn't really make somebody a saint, does it? There are many visionaries out there who have seen Mary and who haven't been named saints. So what would you say are the virtues of Adele Brice that this canonization cause, this inquiry, is going to look into? What would be the virtues being considered as heroic, perhaps?
I think we're going to see her obedience. Adele, while she had catechism classes that she had been taught, she herself was very simple and largely illiterate. In fact, she asked Mary, "How can I teach the children when I know so little myself?" But then she went out and did it. She followed the grace of God and the command of Mary. She worked with the church her whole time while she was doing this. She was in obedience to the bishop and such, and even when at one point one bishop asked for the keys to the school because he wanted to look into things on what was going on here, because he had heard some rumors from people who didn't like the apparition, she very humbly and obediently went to him and said, "Your Excellency, if we close this, I'm happy to do so. Here are the keys, but if you close this, children won't be able to have someone to teach them their catechism." And the bishop, hearing her plea, was like, "You're right. The catechism needs to be taught. People need to be taught the faith." Time and again, Adele always, I think the next thing is her trust in providence. time and again whenever they needed money, and they were constantly short of money because people often weren't paying the tuition for their children to be here. But before they actually ran out, they always received funds to keep going the next day.
That's amazing. We've been talking today with Father Nathanael Mudd, the chaplain of the National Shrine of Our Lady of Good Help. And we've been talking about Adele Brice in her canonization cause, which is just underway. And as we talk about this show quite often, there are 4 steps in the canonization process: servant of God, venerable, blessed, and saint. And now we're at the very beginning stages. Adele is out of the gate as a servant of God. What happens in this step of the sainthood process?
So right now we're in the bishop's edict opened up the diocesan inquiry phase. So the cause hasn't officially been opened yet. We're praying and hoping that will happen very soon here. But right now he's asking the faithful for their testimony, whether they've received personal graces through her intercession, what they know about her in the local area from maybe people have stories told that have been passed down through their families. And so the edict really asks people, do you think that this cause should be opened? This is a time of consultation and prayer and listening to the faithful who have come to know Adele or already have devotion to her. Hopefully, the cause will be opening soon, but the bishop is taking this time with prayer and discernment as he goes through this.
Absolutely. And this is a little more challenging than perhaps a modern-day canonization cause. This is a historic cause. Adele has died years and years ago, and everybody who knew her has died. So personal testimonies, of course, have been written, but that same process that might be found in the diocesan phase of other canonization causes will not be taking place. So it's a little bit of a different challenge for those who are working on her cause. And so when we talk about people submitting personal testimony, perhaps that relates to their relatives that they've heard about, or perhaps even it's a miracle they've prayed for her intercession for a favor. And where can people submit that testimony?
So we're directing people to the diocesan website. They're the ones who are going to receive and take in those testimonies at www.diocese.io/Adele, Adele. And there will be a form that they can fill out with their testimony and contact information in case the diocese has more questions or clarifications regarding that.
Wonderful. And I think one question that I've heard people ask over the years about this particular potential canonization cause is, can people who usually go to the shrine, they focus their prayers on Mary, Our Lady of Champion, Our Lady of Good Help, as she's also known. And so the question is, how does that work when you have a potential saint like Adele Brice? How can that be that when you're only supposed to just pray to one saint at a time? That's the way the Catholic Church kind of makes sure that the prayers of intercession are coming through the right place. But it turns out there's actually a loophole in some ways in the way the Church does this. They allow for people to pray to Jesus and Mary and the future saint, who is Adele Brice in this case. So it is possible for people to pray to Our Lady of Champion for her intercession, and also to the servant of God, Adele Brice, for her intercession, and have it work towards the canonization of Adele. So I think that's an interesting point to point out for people who are considering praying to Adele. And for people who want to actually, you mentioned this already, but people who want to learn more about the life of Adele, perhaps get to know her a little bit, people might not know all the details that are available. Is there a website or other place where people can go to learn more about Adele?
Yes, we have a website, adelebrice.org, at which they can read all about her life, and that also has a share testimony page on it as well. And two, there is a prayer on that website about asking for Adele's intercession, and I believe Our Lady of Champions.
And of course, when people travel to Champion, They are traveling to see the National Shrine of Our Lady of Champion, or Our Lady of Good Help, as she's also known. When people visit your shrine there, what would the experience be like if you had to sort of encourage people to come and to kind of give them a heads up on what they might see? What is there at the National Shrine of Our Lady of Champion?
Well, here we have our main apparition chapel that was built in 1940 on the site when they needed a much bigger chapel for the number of pilgrims who were coming. And that is the place our Lord is reserved in the Blessed Sacrament there. They can visit with our Lord, attend Mass there. In the summertime, we'll be having Mass twice daily at 9:30 and 11:30, as well as an opportunity for confessions at a couple times during the day, actually. And then underneath of the sanctuary, there are stairs leading down from outside, as well as a handicap-accessible ramp leading into the crypt oratory that is beneath the sanctuary, and that is the place where Our Lady's apparition is reverenced and where they can light candles to Our Lady and also offer prayers, not just for themselves, but for all the others who have lit candles down there. I also recommend they check out our History Center, where we have historical photos of the shrine throughout the years that it's been active, as well as the story of Adele Brice and of some of the favors that have been received here.
Wonderful. And I think that downstairs area, they have all these various crutches and other things that are sort of the visual testaments to the healings that have happened over the years, as are at the sites of other famous Marian apparition or healing sites. They have those on display for people as well to see. And from your experience, Father, in dealing with the pilgrims who come and in their experience, what is it that people say when they talk about the shrine and what draws them to it?
The thing I've heard the most has been the peace that they feel on the grounds. And I like the parish where I grew up was called Queen of Peace, and being here where the Queen of Heaven appeared, you certainly do feel the peace that our Lord is giving to us through her intercession. For a lot of people, this is a refuge from the noise of the world and even from some of their own sorrows and grief near the peaceful heart of Mary.
That's very well put. And for people who want to visit, what is the proximity to Green Bay? I think people know Green Bay, of course, from the football team and otherwise. How close is Green Bay Green Bay to Champion if people wanted to make a day trip from being in Green Bay?
We're about 25 to 30 minutes from most of the points in Green Bay, and it's a fairly simple drive to reach the shrine at any time.
Wonderful. And for those people who want to learn more about the National Shrine of Our Lady of Champion, what's the best website or other place that they could go to read more and perhaps schedule a pilgrimage to come and visit?
Our website at championshrine.org is the best way to find out what's going on here at the shrine, our schedule, and to schedule a pilgrimage.
Wonderful. Well, we're so grateful to you, Father Nathanael Mudd, for joining us on today's program. You're the chaplain there at the National Shrine of Our Lady of Good Help. Our prayers are with you and with the cause to see Sister Adele Brice be recognized as a saint someday, a new American saint, and related to the Shrine of Our Lady of Good Help, Our Lady of Champion. Thank you so much, Father Nathanael, for joining us on today's program.
Thank you so much, Michael, for having me on.
God bless. That was Father Nathanael Mudd, the chaplain of Our Lady of Good Help. We're excited about this canonization cause moving forward. It's been something on my mind that I've been hoping for some years, that they would move ahead with this, and people can go to adelebrice.org for more information on Adele. And for people who want to tune in and learn everything about Champion that I know anyway, I put together a program for the Explore series, Explore Champion, and people can go to explorewiththemiraclehunter.com, and on that website you can navigate to the on-demand tab, and there you can watch the EWTN episode about Our Lady of Champion. And in that program, I cover the life of Adele and the shrine itself, so people can see it a little bit before they decide to make their pilgrimage. And of course, go to championshrine.org for more information and to schedule your trip. And that's all the time we have for today's show. If you missed any of this episode or want to catch up on past episodes, you can go to EWTN.com/radio, check out the audio archives, or download the free EWTN app. I'd like to thank our guest today, Yelena Popovic, the producer, director, and writer of Moses the Black, and Father Nathanael Mudd, the chaplain of the National Shrine of Our Lady of Champion. Check out my series, Explore with the Miracle Hunter. Next episode airs on Saturday, January 31st at 5:30 p.m. Central Time, San Giovanni Rotondo. Padre Pio, the great miracle-working saint, is the latest subject. We journey to Italy to meet the man known worldwide for healing miracles by location and exhibiting the wounds of Christ in the stigmata. And I'd like to thank you for joining me today on Miracle Hunter, where from claims of healings and visions to the world's most inexplicable events, whether you're a believer or a skeptic, the truth is always worth the hunt. Talk to you next week.